So I think that when people hear that we are a full-time work from home, school from home family, we might get a little bit of a side eye. And there are a lot of assumptions that come along with that, but I can promise you we are as normal can be. Me and my husband both work from home while also having two little boys at home. And it's something that we've been doing for a while, and it's something that has actually been working out really well for us. But a lot of people wonder why we've made the choices to do this, and how we kind of find balance in doing it all. So I actually am a teacher. I've been a teacher since 2004. So you can do the math. And I started out working in a traditional school. And even early on, before I was married, before I had kids, I just knew in my heart that when I had kids of my own, I didn't want them to be in the public school system for a number of different reasons. I had an experience in the classroom that made me feel like I was maybe no longer safe in that setting, and I decided to go ahead and leave the traditional classroom. I decided I no longer wanted to be a traditional teacher. I did have an opportunity a few years later to become an online teacher for a private online school where I worked for over 9 years. Fast forward to 2015, my husband and I had our first little boy. I worked all through my pregnancy for this remote school, and after I had my son, after a whopping 2 weeks of maternity leave, I went right back to teaching virtually with a newborn in tow. And so this became our norm right away. At that point, my husband was actually still working in an office, so he was not home during the day, and it was just Brooks and I home during the day. It was challenging. It has not been easy at any point, but it has always been worthwhile to have our son at home with us. It meant that I didn't miss any milestones. It meant that I was with him every step of the way. So fast forward again to 2019, we had our second son, Jack. And again, I worked all through my pregnancy with a 3-year-old in tow. And after another 2 weeks of maternity leave, I went right back to my full-time remote job as an online teacher, now with a 3-year-old and a newborn. Again, it meant some changes. It meant being flexible. It meant putting some things to the side. Not everything can be a priority when you have so many things going on. But again, we made it work. Thanks to the pandemic, my husband ended up being home for a little bit over a year, working from home. And so during that time, it was really nice to have both of us available to help with the kids. After my husband went back to the office, after the pandemic settled a bit, he knew pretty quickly that he wanted to be home. And so he worked hard to find a work from home job so that we can all be home together. When it came time to decide what we were going to do with my oldest son for school, it came right at the beginning of the pandemic. We had to make some tough decisions. It was early on, so we didn't know that the pandemic was going to last more than the 6 weeks that we were being, told or suggested. And so we did find a traditional school. It was actually a school for gifted and talented children. And so we enrolled him. We were really excited. And then we learned that the pandemic was going to keep the schools virtual. And so we did try the virtual school setting for a little while. Schools at the time were not set up to deal with virtual schooling, and so it was really hard. So imagine being a kindergartner who is sitting in front of a computer all day long. It was not working. He was bored, he was fidgety, and I just couldn't imagine that was good developmentally. So we actually withdrew him just before Veterans Day, and I decided to do homeschooling. We did homeschool for kindergarten. It worked really well. He really flourished. But when it came time for first grade, we decided we would try the Gifted and Talented School again. They would be in person. And we found out that it was just not a good fit. His first day of school, he looked terrified. He is smaller in stature and he's a year younger than a lot of his classmates. So he's this tiny little guy and he looked like he was just going to get lost in the mix. He spent one whole day at school, and when it was time for him to come home for the day, he was not okay. And so my husband and I decided that because we could stay home with him and because we did have other options, we decided to actually find a different alternative for him. Initially, I wanted to do homeschool again, but working full time with a 2-year-old and a first grader, I wanted to make sure that my son was going to get the education that he really needed. He moves really quickly, he goes through the materials really quickly, and it was really tough for me, even as a teacher, to keep him engaged. So we looked at some online programs. The school I was working at was not an option. It was a private school, and the tuition was like extraordinarily high. So we tried some traditional schools. We tried to enroll in Connections and K-12 and Astrovo, but we did not have much luck because the pandemic was still in full effect. They were overwhelmed, they weren't responding, and so we stumbled across a local public online school here in Colorado, and it has been amazing. And so we are finishing up our second year with that school. I am his full-time learning coach, and so that means that I'm really involved in his schooling, but I'm not creating the curriculum. And the teacher is amazing. She's very flexible, and she's constantly offering ways to challenge Brooks to really keep him learning and growing. So here we are, a family of 4, working from home full-time, schooling from home full-time, and we really have found our groove. We have found our routines that work, and I'm really excited to share more of our journey with you along the way. So thanks for being here. Thank you for checking out my video. I hope you have a great day.